PREVAIL. Boris still have a strong backline to lean on through stick and stone for next election. Loyal Red Wall Tory MPs have backed winner Boris Johnson to lead them into the next election. A disastrous fortnight for the Prime Minister has seen him on the back foot since the Owen Paterson debacle, about which he admitted, "On a clear road I crashed the car into a ditch." He is also facing demands he deal with the migrant crisis, while Labour has branded changes to HS2, which saw the high-speed eastern leg to Leeds scrapped, as a betrayal of the North. But Tory MPs in Red Wall seats, the traditional Labour strongholds that voted Conservative in 2019, say Mr Johnson remains a strength on the doorsteps and is the best person to lead the party into the next election. And prominent members of the 2019 Tory intake acknowledge they owe their election victories to his party leadership. Mark Fletcher, who turned Dennis Skinner's Bolsover seat from red to blue, said, "The PM is a brilliant politician and leader. His optimism and vision for where the country is going remains undiminished." Leonici, the first Conservative to win Great Grimsby since the Second World War, also wants Mr Johnson to stay in post. She said, "Boris is absolutely the right man to lead the country now and through the next election cycle." Ashfield Conservative MP Lee Anderson had blunt advice for his colleagues: "If he does make a few blunders, make a few mistakes, you should remember that we're in Parliament because of him." However, there is agreement the Prime Minister needs to tackle illegal immigration to address the concern of voters in the former Labour heartlands. Mr Johnson has signalled he shares their frustration by ordering a cross-Whitehall review of the migrant situation. It is reported he is exasperated that the government has not been able to bring down numbers, and at the lack of viable policies to stop people crossing the channel in small boats. Nearly 25,000 have made the crossing this year, around 3 times as many as last year. Marco Longhi, who in 2019 became Dudley North's first Conservative MP, said Mr Johnson commanded his full support and that his constituents want him to stay. But he urged the government to show them that the country has truly taken back control of its borders and its laws. He said, "Unquestionably, the most visible expression of our failure in delivering that to date is the unrelenting arrival of illegal immigrants who subsequently claim asylum." Brendan Clark-Smith, who took Bassetlaw from Labour, expressed confidence in both Mr Johnson's enduring power at the ballot box and his ability to get a grip on illegal immigration. He said, "He is still incredibly popular on the doorstep. People had faith in him to get Brexit done. I think the Prime Minister is the right man to see us through on immigration, and, again, I hope he's still here for the next election because he's got that winning formula. He's a winner." Mr Johnson expressed regret last week over his handling of the Owen Paterson disaster. It saw a botched attempt to spare the former Environment Secretary from punishment for breaking lobbying rules. But Matt Vickers, who won Stockton South for the Tories in 2019, insisted the PM had got his mojo back and said the country is now in a much better state than people had dared hope when COVID-19 first hit. He said, "He's firing on all cylinders. The one thing that happened at the beginning of this pandemic is everybody thought we'd get to the other end of it and there'd be mass unemployment. Here we are, jobs vacancies galore, an economy booming. We're building back better. He is going to be a huge asset in the next election as he was in the last, because he's done such a fantastic job of steering us through the pandemic. We're seeing more bobbies on the beat. We're seeing more doctors and nurses in our hospitals and, in Stockton South, we're seeing lots of cash investment." A fellow MP from the 2019 intake also insisted the PM remains a huge electoral asset and said there was no appetite to replace Mr Johnson with Chancellor Rishi Sunak, who has won plaudits for his delivery of the furlough scheme. They said, "Some people I've spoken to in the constituency said Boris needs to get his act together. But nobody has said to me, now's the time for a new Prime Minister." However, another first-term MP expressed concern about the PM's performance, saying, "I think there are a few starting to question it. I think a recurring theme for the last couple of weeks is, it's been a show." They added, "I'd like to see the Boris we had in the election, bombastic, the entertainer, serious when he needs to be." Meanwhile, Shipley Conservative Philip Davis was confident the PM absolutely remained an asset and is sure he will remain in post, but he argues the party needs to start governing as Conservatives. He said, "There's no point having an 80-seat majority in Parliament and then doing exactly what the Labour Party would have done.